The homeless old black man flinched as the slap echoed across the gas station parking lot. The white man who hit him burst into loud, cruel laughter. People turned away. Nobody helped. Nobody spoke. Until the rumble of motorcycles filled the air. A crew of bikers rolled in, staring at the scene. Their leader whispered, "Tell me he didn't just do that." What they did next shook the entire town. Before we begin, subscribe to our channel and comment where you are watching from so we can bring more stories like these. The world had long forgotten Mr. Howard Lee, but he hadn't forgotten how to be gentle. Every morning, before the sun even pulled itself over the rooftops, he woke under the same blue tarp he had patched 15 times with duct tape, rope, and stubborn hope. Stretched between a chain-link fence and an old shopping cart behind the Maplewood Gas and Go. It wasn't much, but it was his little corner of peace. The early air was cold enough to make his breath puff like smoke. But Howard didn't complain. He slipped out from under the tarp, joints crackling like old wood, and he whispered, "Thank you, Lord, for letting me wake up again." He stretched slow, careful. At 74, his bones were tired, but his spirit was still stubborn. He brushed off his worn jacket, smoothed the frayed edges, and tucked the pockets in place. Then he checked on his most prized possession, his can cart. Not much to look at, just an old rusted metal frame with 2 squeaky wheels and one wheel that tilted like it had an attitude problem. But Howard kept it clean, wiped it down every morning, and tied a faded American flag to the front as decoration. Most folks laughed at that, but Howard didn't care. He saluted it every sunrise anyway. After that, he walked around the back of the gas station, collecting aluminum cans from the recycle bins and the parking lot. He hummed while he worked, old gospel songs, tiny fragments of hymns he remembered from a childhood long gone. Morning has broken, like the first morning. His voice wasn't strong, but it was warm, like a soft blanket somebody forgot to fold. Customers arrived early for coffee and diesel. Some nodded politely. Some pretended he was invisible. A few regulars smiled at him with genuine kindness, and Howard smiled back. Always. He didn't ask for money, didn't beg, didn't bother nobody. He just lived. Quietly. Gently. Sometimes he swept the gas station lot with the broom Mia, the cashier, left outside for him. She always thanked him. "Morning, Mr. Lee. You don't have to do that." And Howard would tap his chest softly, like kindness lived under his ribs. "Ma'am, helpin' keeps me alive." She always left an extra donut in the trash for him, the clean kind, in a separate bag, like she hoped he wouldn't notice she was trying to help. But he always noticed, and always prayed for her when she wasn't looking. Mia Thompson, 23, working 2 jobs, still managed to treat him like a person. He appreciated that more than he could say. He washed up in the gas station restroom every morning. Quick, quiet, respectful. He folded his tarp neatly before leaving. He said good morning to everyone, even the men who pretended not to hear. He didn't have much, didn't expect much, didn't demand much. He lived with gratitude stitched into his spirit. A gentle man in a world that didn't know what to do with gentle men anymore. You always know when cruelty is coming. It comes loud, it comes arrogant, it comes like it owns everything it sees. This morning, cruelty came in a spotless white SUV with blacked-out windows, shiny rims, and a driver who believed the world belonged to him because his wallet was heavy and his skin was pale. Cameron Wells, mid-30s, raised rich, raised entitled, never told no in his life. He offered a small smile. "Morning, sir." Cameron looked him up and down like he was inspecting trash. "What are you smiling for?" he snapped. "You're filthy." Howard blinked. "Oh, I'm just saying good morning. Trying to be polite." Cameron scoffed. "Yeah? Well, go be polite somewhere else. You're making the place look bad." Howard swallowed, but stayed calm. "I just picking up cans, sir. Trying to keep the lot clean." Cameron kicked the cart's wheel. Hard. The rattling metal echoed across the station. Howard jumped back, startled. "Hey!" Mia shouted from inside the store, her voice muffled through the glass. "Sir, stop!" Cameron didn't even look at her. He leaned forward, speaking right into Howard's face. "You're trash. This whole place smells because of people like you." Howard stepped back, eyes wide, but voice soft. "Sir, please don't talk like that. I ain't hurting nobody." "Oh, shut up," Cameron snapped. He crumpled his sandwich wrapper from breakfast and tossed it into Howard's lap. "Here, do your job." Howard picked it up quietly. No argument, no anger, just pain tucked deep behind his ribs. A few customers watched from their pumps, pretending to scroll on their phones as guilt twisted in their stomachs. No one stepped in. Not yet. And Cameron saw that. Cruel people always do. He smirked, enjoying the silence, enjoying the power. "Go crawl back behind the station," he said. "Better yet, crawl back to whatever alley you came from." Howard's breath shook. "I sleep behind the station." "Yes, sir, but I don't bother nobody." Cameron laughed loudly. "Guess I'll bother you then." His voice rose. "You ain't a citizen. You ain't worth nothing. You ain't even—" "Sir," Howard whispered, shaking his head. "Please don't." But Cameron wanted a reaction. He wanted fear. He wanted domination. He wanted humiliation. And then it happened. No warning. No hesitation. Crack! Cameron's palm swung through the air and slapped Howard Lee across the face so hard the sound ricocheted off the fuel pumps like a gunshot. Howard stumbled backward, hands flying to his cheek. His cart tipped over. Cans rolled across the concrete with a metallic rattle. Cameron stepped back, chest puffed proudly. "That's what you get," he barked. "Move faster, old man." Howard blinked through dizziness. No retaliation, no anger, just heartbreak. Deep, heavy, ancient. Cars stopped, heads turned, phones lifted. But still, nobody stepped in. Mia froze behind the counter, hand over her mouth, eyes filling with tears. And then, engines. Loud, rough, throaty. A group of 5 motorcycles rolled into the station. Leather vests, heavy boots, patch-covered jackets. Their leader, Raymond Cole, massive, bearded, built like a brick wall, pulled off his helmet and locked eyes on the bruised old man on the ground. His voice dropped low enough to shake the dust. "Who hit him?" Cameron smirked, still arrogant. "I did. So what?" A stupid, stupid mistake. The air behind the gas station still hummed with the echo of that brutal slap. But rewind the day just a bit. Cruelty didn't start with the strike. It never does. It starts with little cuts. The kind people think they can get away with. Before Cameron Wells ever raised his hand, he had already tried to break Mr. Howard Lee piece by piece. Howard was doing what he did every morning. Sorting cans, humming softly, minding his own. He knelt beside his cart, using a bent metal rod to push a couple crushed beer cans toward him. He worked slow, careful not to scrape his knuckles on the pavement, humming an off-key version of an old hymn. "That man ain't hurting nobody," Mia often said. She believed that, deep down. But Cameron didn't. Cameron stepped out of his SUV with the energy of a man who thought oxygen bent around him special. Sunglasses on, wallet too thick, smile too smug. He tossed his keys in the air, catching them with a snap. He didn't see Howard at first. He saw an opportunity to feel superior. That's how men like him operate. Howard looked up from his cans, smiled like he always did. "Morning, sir," he said gently. Cameron wrinkled his nose, like the word sir offended him. "You need to back up," he snapped. "You're blocking the pump." Howard blinked. He wasn't even close to the pump. "Oh, sorry, sir. I was just picking up these cans, trying to keep things tidy for Miss Mia inside." Cameron kicked one of the cans away from Howard, sending it rolling across the pavement like a tiny silver tumbleweed. "You don't clean this place," he sneered. "Your existence makes it dirty." Howard lowered his head and whispered the same words he'd whispered too many times. "Yes, sir," people nearby saw. A man pumping gas pretended to stare at his phone instead. A woman in a minivan kept glancing over, but looked away when Cameron looked her direction. Silence is the first accomplice of cruelty. Cameron circled the gas pumps, grabbing a coffee from the outdoor machine. He peeled the lid off and tossed it carelessly, straight toward Howard's cart. It hit the metal frame and skittered into the dirt. Howard bent down quietly to pick it up. As he reached for it, Cameron stepped closer, chuckling low. "Ain't you got anywhere else to be?" he asked, sipping his coffee loudly. Howard wiped the dust from the lid. "No, sir. I just stay round here. Don't trouble nobody." Cameron leaned in close enough for Howard to smell the expensive cologne covering the rot of his attitude. "You being here is trouble." Howard blinked, confused. "I'm sorry if my being here bothers you. I just don't got many other places." Cameron scoffed loudly. "Yeah, homeless people and excuses. That's all y'all got." A man in a pickup truck halfway out of his parking spot paused to watch, eyes narrowed but mouth closed. Again, silence. Cameron took the wrapper from his breakfast sandwich, balled it up, and threw it at Howard like he was shooting a basketball into a trash can. Except Howard wasn't a trash can. The wrapper bounced off Howard's chest and fell to the concrete. Howard froze, heart sinking, but he bent down and picked it up anyway. His voice soft as ash. "Please don't, sir. I'm just trying to clean." Cameron smirked. "Exactly. Now clean that too." Howard brushed the wrapper gently, folding it so it wouldn't blow away. Mia, watching from inside the convenience store, slammed her hand against the counter in frustration. "Hey," she yelled through the glass door. "Cut it out." Cameron turned slowly, smirk deepening. "You run a register," he taunted. "Stay in your lane." She flinched, but didn't back down. "Leave him alone," she said firmly. Cameron stepped closer to the door, eyes cold as steel. "You want to keep your job?" he said quietly, menace dripping from every word. Her mouth fell open slightly. He was threatening her job as if he owned the place. She stepped back, anger and fear battling inside her. Howard saw it. He raised both hands. No, Miss Mia, don't get in trouble for me," he said, voice trembling. "Please." Cameron turned back to Howard, victorious. "You hearing this?" he bragged. "Even she knows where you belong." Howard looked at the pavement. Cameron walked over to Howard's cart. The little flag fluttered lightly in the wind. He sneered at it. "You really pushing this junk around the neighborhood?" Sad. Howard gripped the cart handle. "This here's my income, sir. It keeps me alive." Cameron laughed. "Alive? Barely. Look at you." Howard's throat tightened. "Sir, I don't want no trouble." Cameron stepped in front of him. "You being alive is trouble." Howard blinked fast, trying not to let his feelings spill over. Then Cameron placed his polished boot on the edge of the cart and kicked. Hard. Cans flew in every direction, clinking, rolling, bouncing off tires and concrete. Howard gasped, reaching for them, like he could somehow stop gravity. "No, please, sir!" Cameron laughed louder, the laughter of a man who loved causing pain. "That's right, old man," he taunted. "Pick it all up. Maybe if you crawl fast enough, someone will toss you a tip." Howard knelt on the concrete, hands trembling as he chased cans rolling away. He whispered, please stop. I ain't done nothing wrong." A woman filling her tank gasped, hand covering her mouth. A teenage boy whispered, "This ain't right." But no one moved. Not yet. Howard finally gathered the last can, his breath unsteady. He stood slowly, wiping dirt from his palms, trying to regain some dignity. "Here." He tried to smile. "I'll move along now." But Cameron wasn't done. Cruelty never stops on its own. "Oh no," Cameron sneered, stepping close enough that Howard took a breath that wasn't his own. "You not goin' nowhere till I'm done." Howard swallowed. "Sir, please." Cameron leaned even closer, voice dropping into something poisonous. "I told you to crawl back to whatever alley you came from. You deaf old man?" Howard's eyes filled, not with tears, but with a lifetime of exhaustion. "I ain't crawling nowhere, sir," he whispered. "I'm still a human being." Cameron laughed. "A human being? You?" He shook his head. "That's funny." And then, with the cold calm of a person who enjoys breaking things. Not a gentle hit. Not a playful tap. A slap fueled by power, entitlement, cruelty. Howard stumbled backwards, falling against the pavement, cans scattering again like silver raindrops. People gasped, phones lifted, engines idled. The world froze. Howard's cheeks stung, red and swelling. His voice barely audible. "Sir, why?" Cameron smirked. "Because I can." Mia covered her mouth inside the store, tears choking her breath. And that was the moment. The moment the universe itself seemed to say, "Enough." You could feel it crackle in the air. Because cruelty had finally crossed the line. And justice, loud, powerful, unexpected, was roaring toward the station, riding motorcycles. Engines. That was the first thing everyone heard after the slap. Deep, throaty, growling engines. The kind that make the ground hum and the air tighten. 5 motorcycles turned into the gas station like a small thunderstorm on wheels. Chrome flashing, pipes rumbling, leather jackets glinting with patches and metal pins. People turned. Phones that were halfway raised lifted higher. Even Cameron's smug grin faltered for half a second. The bikes rolled past the pumps, slow and deliberate, before cutting their engines one by one. Silence dropped heavy after the noise. The leader took off his helmet. Raymond Cole, late 40s, big in the chest and shoulders, beard streaked with gray, a scar cutting through one eyebrow. His presence alone felt like a warning sign. His leather vest carried a patch across the back. Iron Saints MC. They weren't the type of bikers who terrorized towns. They were the type who rode up when towns didn't know how to defend the right people. Raymond swung his leg off the bike, boots hitting the pavement with a solid thud. His eyes scanned the scene in one slow sweep. The tipped cart. The scattered caw. He also knew when a man was trying to protect everyone but himself. Raymond's eyes sharpened. "Who hit him?" he asked, not loudly, but in a tone that made the entire station go still. No one answered at first. The guy in the pickup looked away. The mom in the minivan stared at the wheel. A teenager looked from Cameron to Raymond, like watching a live show he'd never forget. Raymond slowly stood up. He turned, scanning the crowd. "Let me ask it again," he said. Voice just a little louder. "Who put their hands on this man?" Cameron scoffed, finally stepping forward. He tilted his chin, pulled his shoulders back, making himself look bigger. "I did," he said, crossing his arms. "So what?" The words dropped like a lit match into gasoline. The other bikers shifted. One of them, a tall woman with a braided ponytail and tattoos on both arms, clenched her jaw. Another, a heavy-set man with a chain wallet and gentle eyes, muttered, "Bad move, brother." Raymond turned fully to war. "You don't tell me what to do, man. You roll up here, with your ass close. You can see the difference between them. One man had money. The other had presence." Cameron smirked. "You got a problem?" he asked, swagger dripping from every syllable. Raymond's eyes didn't blink. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I got a problem with cowards who hit old men." The words weren't loud, but they echoed. Cameron laughed once, sharp and fake. "Old man shouldn't have been in my way," he said. "He's trash. I just moved him." The bikers inhaled slowly, like a pack trying not to rip into something. The woman biker shook her head. "Nah," she muttered. "We not doing that today." Raymond took one more step closer. He wasn't chest to chest with Cameron yet. He didn't need to be. "Say that again," Raymond said quietly. "Call him trash again. Do it right now. Look at him when you say it." Cameron's smirk flickered. He glanced at Howard, then back at Raymond. "Your little gang and think you scare me? This. Raymond chuckled once. No humor in it. "This ain't a gang," he said calmly. "It's a family. Big difference." He nodded toward Howard. "And that man you just slapped? He got more dignity in his pinky nail than you got in your whole body." Cameron's face flushed. "You don't know nothing about me," he snapped. Raymond's gaze hardened. "I know enough," he said. "I know you put your hands on someone who can't fight back, just so you can feel tall in your own shoes." "That tell me everything I need to know." The bikers behind him nodded, silent but solid. One of them started recording with his phone, then another, then a customer, then another, and another. The sound of camera shutters and video recording clicks filled the air. Cameron's smile faltered. "What are you doing?" he demanded. Raymond shrugged. "Documentin'," he said. "You wanted to make a show out of humiliating him? Now everybody gets to see the full show. Hope you good with crowds." A murmur rippled through the O. Someone whispered, "About time," under their breath. Cameron's eyes darted to the phones. "You can't record me," he snapped. "You don't got my permission." Raymond's brow lifted. "You assaulted somebody in public," he said. "Permission ain't really a factor anymore." Mia finally came out of the store, hands trembling, phone clutched tight. She walked straight to Howard first. "You okay, Mr. Lee?" she whispered, dropping to a knee beside him. He tried to smile through pain. "I'm all right, Miss Mia. Don't you worry." She swallowed hard and looked up at Raymond. "Thank you," she breathed. Raymond gave a short nod. "No old man should be laying on the ground like that," he said. Then Cameron snapped again. "He's homeless," he barked, as if that was some kind of justification. "He sleeps in the trash. He doesn't even belong here." Heads turned sharply. The woman biker took a step forward this time. "You know what don't belong here?" she said, voice low but firm. "Your mouth." Cameron scoffed. "Oh, so you're all heroes now?" he sneered. Raymond's gaze went ice cold. "Nah," he said. We just don't like bullies. Something shifted in the people watching. Minutes ago, they'd been quiet, frozen in that familiar bystander paralysis. But seeing the bikers stand there, unyielding, unafraid, made something rise in them too. The teenage boy in the hoodie raised his own phone, angling it directly at Cameron's face. The mom in the minivan rolled down her window. "I saw what you did," she called out. "You hit him for no reason." The man with the pickup truck finally stepped out. "Yeah," he added. "I saw it too. There was no provocation." Cameron looked around, suddenly aware he was no longer the biggest force in the room. But pride can be louder than sense. "You people are pathetic," he snapped. "Defending some junkie under a tarp? He's probably here because he deserves it." Howard, still sitting on the ground, flinched. Raymond looked down at him, then back at Cameron with a glare that could cut steel. "You talk like that about him one more time," he said quietly, "and you ain't gonna have to worry about me hitting you. The truth already knocking your reputation out." Cameron laughed, but it sounded thinner now. "What truth?" he barked. "All you got is some dusty bum and a bunch of bike clowns with phones." From the far edge of the lot, a car door slammed. A woman's voice rang out, strong, urgent, desperate. "Stop! Don't touch him! I know him!" Everyone turned. A black woman in her mid-30s sprinted across the lot, ponytail swinging, lab coat flapping open over her street clothes. She looked like she'd left work in a rush. Her name tag still hung from her collar. Dr. Angela Reed, MD. She dropped to her knees beside Howard. "Mr. Lee," she cried, "oh my God, are you all right?" Howard blinked in surprise. "Dr. Angela?" he murmured. "What you doing here, baby?" She took his face gently in her hands, inspecting the swelling on his cheek. Her eyes glistened with anger and concern. "Who did this?" she asked, voice low and shaking. Raymond pointed without hesitation. "He did." Cameron rolled his eyes. "Oh, what, you his social worker now?" he said. Angela stood slowly. When she turned to face Cameron, her expression was nothing short of lethal. "No," she said evenly. "I'm the woman whose brother this man saved when nobody else cared." The crowd stirred. Raymond frowned. "Saved your brother?" he asked quietly. Angela nodded, eyes locked on Cameron. "He slapped a homeless man," she said bitterly. "He assaulted a hero." The words hit harder than any punch. The bikers went still. The camera zoomed in, and for the first time since he stepped out of his shiny SUV, Cameron Wells looked less like a man in control and more like a man about to lose everything he thought made him powerful. Gas station air changed in a heartbeat. 1 second, it was just another ugly scene of a cruel man and a quiet victim. The next, it felt like the whole parking lot was on holy ground. Because when Dr. Angela Reed said, "This man saved my brother's life," the energy snapped like a live wire. Cameron blinked. Raymond's jaw tightened. The crowd leaned in. Angela helped Mr. Lee sit up straighter, her hands gentle, eyes scanning for serious injury. "Does your head hurt?" she asked softly. "Dizzy? Any nausea?" Howard tried to wave her off, embarrassed. "I'm all right, baby. Just got my bell rung is all. This old head been through worse." She shot him a look. "Don't do that," she said firmly. "Don't pretend you're okay when someone put their hands on you." Howard's eyes softened at the care in her voice. Raymond watched them, curiosity mixing with anger. "Doc," he said slowly, "you said he saved your brother?" She nodded, still keeping one hand on Howard's shoulder like an A. "Yeah," she said. "He did, years ago, long before he was sleeping under a tarp behind a gas station while cowards like that She threw Cameron a look that could have cut glass. Decided they were better than him. Cameron scoffed. Oh, please, this some sob story now? Raymond turned his head just slightly. Shut up, he said, not loud, but heavy. No one protested that order. Angela took a deep breath, the kind people take when they're about to dig up a memory that still hurts to touch. My brother, she began, was in a wreck on Highway 14 about, 8, 9 years ago? She glanced at Howard. He nodded, the memory as clear in his eyes as it was in hers. Yeah, he murmured. Rainy night. Little Honda flipped over. Angela swallowed. It was late, she said. Stormy. My brother Terrence was driving back from a late shift. A drunk driver clipped him, sent his car spinning. It flipped into a ditch, upside down. She paused. People drove by, she said quietly. You know how they do. Slow down, stare, keep going. Some called 911, I'm sure. But nobody climbed down into that ditch. She looked at Howard again. Except him. A murmur rippled through the bystanders. Cameron shifted uneasily, but didn't speak this time. Raymond folded his arms. I was working at a warehouse back then, Howard said softly, eyes distant. My shift just ended. I was walking home on account of my truck given up on me 2 months prior. He gave a tiny, sad smile. Guess God wanted me on foot that night. Angela nodded. He saw the overturned car, she continued. No lights, no movement, just smoke and rain. I heard somebody crying, Howard added quietly. Not loud, just little sounds, like he was fighting to stay awake. He demonstrated, a soft whimper barely audible. I climbed down the ditch, he said, mud up to my ankles, sliding all over. I saw him hanging upside down by the seatbelt, blood on his face, eyes bar. Angela's own eyes glistened. He couldn't move, she whispered. He told me later he thought he was going to die down there, alone. Howard's voice grew even softer. I told him, hey, I'm right here, son. You ain't alone. I ain't leaving you. Those words hung in the air. Even the traffic passing the station seemed to quiet. I used to be on a volunteer fire crew in my younger days, Howard went on, almost shyly. Knew a little bit about what to do till help came. So I braced his neck far as I could, kept his airway clear, kept talking to him so he wouldn't slip off. He looked down at his hands. These hands, he said softly, they ain't good for much now, but they still remember what it feel like to hold somebody's life. Angela took over. He called 911 with one hand while holding my brother with the other, she said. Stayed in that ditch in the pouring rain until the ambulance showed up. Her voice shook. When I got to the hospital, the paramedics told us if that man hadn't stayed with him, kept pressure on that wound, kept him awake, kept his neck stable, your brother. She paused, swallowing hard. Your brother probably wouldn't have made it. She let that sink in. That man was him, she said, nodding at Howard. Mr. Howard Lee. The same man this guy, she jabbed a thumb toward Cameron. Just slapped across the face like he was nothing. Several people in the crowd whispered, wow, under their breath. One middle-aged man in a work uniform shook his head. Man saved a life, he muttered. And he's sleeping behind a gas station? Angela looked down, guilt creeping into her expression. I tried to track him down after, she admitted. To thank him properly, to help. But by the time my brother was recovered enough and I had my life together, he was already gone. House gone. Phone disconnected. Howard gave a small, tired smile. Things got hard, he said simply. Bills bigger than my pockets. Body given out. Work slowing down. One bad fall. Couple bad choices. Rest is history. He shrugged like he was apologizing for existing. Angela's eyes flashed with anger. Not at him, but at the world that made kindness disposable. He didn't stop helping people, though, she said. Everywhere I've seen him since, he's doing something for somebody. Pushing carts out the way so cars don't get scratched. Sweeping this lot for free. Watching kids when their mama's at the pump. Making sure they don't run into the road. Howard ducked his head. Ain't nothing special, he mumbled. Just trying to give back what little I got. Raymond stared at him like he was seeing him clearly for the first time. You were an emergency responder? He asked quietly. Howard shrugged. Volunteer mostly. Some paid jobs in my 30s and 40s. Worked with a rural rescue team for a good while. Didn't wear no cape. Just a radio and a beat-up truck. He smiled faintly. Lost some, saved some. Did my best. Raymond took a long, deep breath, then turned to Cameron. You hear that? He asked, voice low and steady. You didn't just hit some bum under a tarp. You slapped a man who spent his life showing up when folks were dying in ditches. He stepped closer, boots inches from Cameron's expensive shoes. You slapped a hero, he said flatly. The word landed like a hammer. Hero. Cameron scoffed, but it sounded hollow now. Oh, come on, he snapped. You people buy any sad story someone tells you? Angela turned her full attention on him, eyes blazing. I'm a licensed physician, she said sharply. The paramedics gave us his name, his description, and told us flat out my brother probably wouldn't have made it without him. This isn't a story, it's a documented fact. Her voice cut sharper with every word. And even if he hadn't saved anyone, she finished, you still don't get to put your hands on him. The teenage boy with the phone shook his head. My uncle's a firefighter, he said loudly. He always said the worst thing is people treat first responders like heroes one day and trash the next. This is exactly what he meant. The woman biker crossed her arms. World got that backwards, she muttered. People who actually do something get tossed aside. And cowards who swing on old men walk around like they're kings. Raymond exhaled slowly. Iron Saints, he said without looking back. You see why we ride? They murmured in agreement behind him. Cameron's confidence was cracking now, chips of it falling off with every word spoken against him. He tried to reach for the one thing he thought still protected him. Money. I'll sue all of you if you post that, he stammered, pointing at the phones. Defamation, harassment, whatever I can. I know lawyers. Raymond smirked without H. You should know some humility, he shot back. But that seems to be missing from your contacts list. Laughter rippled through the crowd, sharp and bitter. Mia stepped forward now, voice shaking but strong. I saw everything from the window, she said. He kicked Mr. Lee's cart, threw trash at him, harassed him, and then slapped him. I've got security camera footage from the store, too. Cameron's eyes widened. You wouldn't, she cut him off. I absolutely would. Even the man in the pickup truck added. I got my dash cam on, caught the angle from my side. The mom in the minivan nodded. My kid was recording before the slap, she said. He's got the whole lead up on his phone. Everywhere Cameron looked, his actions were reflected back at him. No more shadows to hide in. No more silent witnesses. The truth surrounded him from every angle. Raymond's voice cut through the murmurs like a sword. You hit an old man to feel big, he said. Now the whole town's about to see how small you really are. Cameron took a step back. This is ridiculous, he said, breath quickening. All this owed you some homeless? Raymond snapped his head toward him, and the look in his eyes made Cameron swallow the rest of that sentence. You finish that word, Raymond said quietly, and you're gonna regret it even more than you already do. Silence. Cameron finally shut his mouth. Mr. Lee cleared his throat softly from the ground. Hey, he said weakly. Everyone looked at him. Even now, he wasn't angry, He just looked tired, sad, heavy with decades of being unseen. "Please," he whispered, "don't hurt him. I done seen enough hurt in my life." That mercy hit harder than any punch ever could. One of the bikers blinked rapidly. Raymond let out a slow breath. "Nobody's laying a hand on him," he said. "We ain't him. We ain't built like that." He pointed a finger at Cameron's chest, not touching, but close enough to feel the heat. "We ain't here to break your jaw," he said. "We here to break your story." He tilted his head slightly. "Because you ain't leaving this lot the same way you walked in. Not after this. Not with all these cameras. Not with the truth out." Cameron's throat bobbed. For the first time, he was the one who looked scared. And somewhere in the distance, sirens began to wail. Not for the old man this time, but for the one who thought he was untouchable. For a moment, nobody moved. The station felt like the world had sucked in one long breath and forgotten how to exhale. Cameron stood there surrounded by bikers, by strangers, by phones pointed like cameras in a courtroom. His SUV sat behind him like a useless shield, shiny and powerless. He glanced around, calculating. He could feel it. Control, gone. Power, slipping. Pride, cracking. So he did what cowards always do when they feel. He tried to run. He spun on his heel and started for his SUV, raising his key fob with a shaky hand. But before he could take 3 steps, 3 of the bikers moved in sync, not touching him, not blocking his body, but stepping into his path, forming a human wall between him and his getaway car. Raymond didn't even raise his voice. "Nah," he said calmly. "You don't get to walk away from this like it never happened." Cameron scowled. "Move," he growled, "or I swear." The woman biker, her vest patch, reading Roxy, tilted her head slightly. "You swear what?" she asked. "You gonna hit one of us too? Or you only swing at old men who don't fight back?" A few people in the crowd let out a low, bitter, "Mm-hmm." Cameron's jaw clenched. "I'm not playing with y'all," he snapped. "Move. I have somewhere to be." "Yeah," Raymond said. "You have somewhere to be. Right here, while everybody learns who you really are." He nodded toward the phones. "Y'all still recording?" he asked without turning. "You know it," one of the bikers said. "Got him in 4K, muttered the teen boy. "Already live streaming," someone else added. Cameron's stomach dropped. "You can't post that," he barked. "I'll have it taken down. You don't have my permission." A customer near Pump 6 spoke up. "You gave up permission when you slapped that man," she said. "In public, in front of all of us." Roxy shrugged. "Plus," she added, "the internet loves justice." "Good luck putting that toothpaste back in the tube." The crowd chuckled darkly. Cameron's face turned redder. He jabbed a finger at Raymond. "This is harassment," he shouted. "You're harassing me." Raymond actually smiled this time. Small, humorless. "Harassment?" he repeated. "You want to talk about harassment, Mr. Trash, and crawl back to the alley?" His voice rose. Not yelling, but loud enough for everyone to hear. Every phone mic to catch. "Let's walk it through," he said, pacing slowly, eyes never leaving Cameron. "You pulled up in your shiny truck. Saw a man minding his own business, cleaning up, kicked his cart, threw trash at him, called him names, told him he didn't belong." He stopped. "And then, when nobody stopped you, you hit him. You slapped an old man, a homeless man, a good man, a man who saved lives, just 'cause you thought you could." Cameron's voice wobbled with anger. "You twisting it." "No," Raymond cut in. "We clarifying it." He swept a hand toward the station. "You looked at him and saw trash," he said. "We looked at him and saw a human being. Then we found out he's more. He's a hero." He nodded toward Dr. Angela. "Doc says he kept her brother alive in a ditch while people like you drove past with your windows rolled up and your conscience turned off. Angela's jaw tightened, eyes fiery. That's right, she said. He stood where others ran. She pointed at Cameron. Kind of the opposite of what I'm seeing right now. The crowd hummed in agreement. Cameron's chest rose and fell faster. His eyes darted around, searching for a single friendly face. He found none. Everywhere he looked, phones. Cold, unblinking little judges. Raymond took a step closer, lowering his voice so it was calm, steady, and cutting. You hit an old man to feel powerful, he said. How powerful you feel now. Cameron opened his mouth, but nothing came out. His throat was dry. His hands shook. Humiliation crawled up his neck and sat heavy on his face. Meanwhile, on the ground, Howard watched with a mix of confusion and concern. He'd seen conflict before. He'd seen men bleed, scream, fight. He didn't like the look in Cameron's eyes, fear mixed with rage. He'd seen that look go very wrong in his line of work. Hey, Howard whispered, touching Angela's sleeve. Y'all ain't gonna hurt him, right? Angela looked at him in disbelief. Mr. Lee, she said gently, he hit you. He could have seriously injured you. He nodded slowly. I know, he said, but pain don't always get fixed by more pain. She swallowed, eyes softening. Raymond overheard and turned slightly. He dropped a heavy hand onto Howard's shoulder. Not rough, but grounding. Nobody's laying a finger on him, he said. We ain't those kind of men. His voice lowered. But we're gonna make sure he doesn't walk away from this like it was nothing. Howard nodded, breathing out slowly. All right, he whispered. I seen too many days end ugly. I don't want this to be another one. Raymond's eyes softened for a moment. You deserve a different ending than that, he said quietly. A car pulled up to pump one. The woman inside rolled down her window. What's going on? She called. The teenage boy turned to her. Some rich dude slapped that old man for no reason, he said. Now the whole town's watching him get exposed. He tilted his phone. Check this out. Already over 300 people on the live. Send me the link, she said. I'll share it. Another customer checked their notifications. Yo, it's on Facebook already, he murmured. Somebody posted it to the town group. Mia stepped out with a printed receipt in her hand. Not for gas, but for access. I just pulled the security footage, she announced. I sent it to my email and the managers. It shows everything, from the time he got here to the slap. She looked straight at Cameron. You can say whatever you want, she said. The cameras don't lie. Cameron's anger finally cracked into full-fledged panic. His voice got higher, less controlled. This is insane, he said. You people don't know who I am. My family owns property in this town. We spend money here. Raymond cut him off with a tilt of his head. And you think that means you get to hit people? He asked. You think money buys you a free pass on decency? Cameron sputtered. That man, he probably asked for it. Probably harassing customers, begging for cash, getting in the way. Lies. It was the quietest voice yet, but everyone heard it. Mr. Lee spoke, clearing his throat. I don't beg nobody, he said slowly. I ask folks if they got spare cans they don't want. I sweep a lot I don't get paid to sweep. I watch kids when mamas look busy. I don't put hands on nobody. Ever. He looked up at Cameron, not with hate, just weary disappointment. You hit me 'cause you could, he said, not 'cause you had to. Cameron's mouth clamped shut. Raymond let the silence hang a moment. Then he said, voice low but carrying, that video gon' be hard to explain to your boss, your friends, your mama. Someone in the back snorted. Imagine his mama seeing him swing on a granddad, they muttered. People murmured again. Disgust, anger, some pity. because humiliation is its own sort of storm, and Cameron was standing in the middle of it, with no umbrella. The sirens were closer now, wailing, rising, approaching. Cameron re-straightened his shirt, trying to regain some semblance of control. When the police car turned into the lot, he latched onto it like a drowning man grabs a piece of wood. "Officer," he shouted, jogging toward the arriving cruiser. "Officer, you need to arrest this man. The door opened." Officer Daniels stepped out, mid-40s, steady gaze, not easily rattled. He took in the scene in one glance. Phones recording, old man on the ground, bikers, anxious, angry faces. His hand rested near his holster, not grabbing, just ready. "All right," he said. "Somebody start talking. What happened here?" Cameron rushed forward. "That homeless guy attacked me," he said loudly. "These bikers are harassing me and blocking me from leaving. This is a mob. You need to do something." Raymond raised an eyebrow. "A mob?" he repeated. The officer didn't respond right away. He simply scanned the faces. Then, like a wave, everyone started talking at once. "He slapped the old man. He kicked his cart. I got video. So do I. Check the station cameras." Officer Daniels put one hand up. "One at a time," he said firmly. Then he pointed at Mia. You work here?" "Yes, sir," she said, stepping forward. "Cashier. I saw the whole thing from inside. And like I said, I pulled the footage from our camera. You can watch it." Cameron's face went gray. "Officer, she's lying." The officer shot him a look that said, "Be quiet," without needing words. "Sir," he said to Cameron, "I'll hear from you in a minute. Right now, I'm gathering witness statements." He turned to Raymond. "You one of the bikers that called?" he asked. "No, sir," Raymond said. "The doctor did. We just showed up while it was happening and stepped in to stop it from getting worse." "Doctor?" Daniels repeated. Angela raised her hand. "I'm the one who called," she said. "Dr. Angela Reed. I'm also a witness. So is my brother, if you ever want his statement about what Mr. Lee did for him years ago." "Mr. Lee?" Daniels asked. "That the one on the ground?" "Yes, sir," Angela said. "He's the victim here, not that man." Officer Daniels nodded. "Okay," he said. "First things first." He walked over to Howard and crouched down. "Sir, are you hurt?" he asked gently. Howard gave him a tired smile. "I'll live," he said. "Been hit harder by life than by him." Daniel's sigh laughed through his nose, the kind of sound that says that's sad and true at the same time. "I'm calling EMS anyway to check your head," he said. Angela spoke up. "I already did a quick neuro check," she said. "But yes, he should be evaluated." Daniels nodded. Then he stood, turning to Cameron. "Now," he said, voice shifting colder. "You said he attacked you?" Cameron straightened. "Yes," he insisted. "He was in my way. He got aggressive when I told him to move. Tried to grab me. I slapped him in self-defense." A wave of disbelief rolled through the crowd. The teenage boy barked out a short laugh. "Self-defense?" he scoffed. "Stop playing." Daniel slowly turned to face the crowd. "Everybody who recorded," he said. "I'm gonna need you to airdrop, email, or text those videos to this number." He pulled out a card and held it up. One by one, people stepped forward. Some showed him clips right there. Different angles, different distances. All the same story. No aggression from Howard. No raised voice. Just quiet, dignity. And then, slap. Daniels watched a couple of them in silence. He closed his eyes once, as if to reset his patience. Then he turned to Mia. "You said you've got security footage?" he asked. "Yes, sir," she nodded quickly. "It's already sent to my manager and to my own email. I can log in and show you right now." He nodded. "Do that," he said. "We'll pull it officially too." Finally, he turned back to Cameron. "Sir," he said evenly, "based on eyewitness accounts and video evidence, you are under arrest for assault." The words hung in the air like a final verdict. Cameron's world cracked. What? No, this is ridiculous. They're twisting it. I'm the victim here. They're ganging up on me. He tried to step toward the officer, but Daniels put a hand out. Turn around, he said crisply. Hands behind your back. Cameron's voice pitched higher. You don't understand who I am. My father knows the mayor, my company. Daniels cut him off. This ain't about who your father is, he said. This is about what you did. Click. The sound of handcuffs snapping shut. Phone zoomed in. Someone whispered, "Wow." Raymond watched, arms crossed. Roxy shook her head, exhaling slowly. Cameron looked at the crowd. All those eyes, all that judgment. And for the first time, he looked small. He looked human, frightened, ashamed, alone. And that's when Mr. Lee did the most unexpected thing yet. "Officer?" he called softly. Daniels paused, hand on Cameron's arm. "Yes, sir," the officer replied. Don't ruin him." Everyone turned. Howard's eyes were tired but clear. "He wrong," he said quietly. "He hurt me. But I seen what hatred does to people. Seen what throwing folks away does. If there's any mercy in this somewhere, let him get it." Cameron stared at him, stunned. You're asking them not to," he stammered. Howard nodded. "You're still somebody's son," he said. "Maybe someday you'll be something better than what you was today." The crowd went silent. Those words sank deep. Officer Daniels studied Mr. Lee for a long moment. "Sir," he said gently, "that kind of mercy, I'm gonna note it in my report." He glanced at Cameron. "But he still answers for what he did." Howard nodded slowly. "I know," he said. "Just don't let answerin' turn into destroyin'." Raymond put a hand on his shoulder again. "You deserve better than the world has given you," he said softly. "You know that." Howard blinked rapidly, and for the first time in years, the weight he carried cracked open enough for tears to slip out. I don't know," he whispered. But as he looked around at the bikers, at Mia, at Angela, at strangers holding out hands, phones, water, concern, something new settled in his chest. Maybe for the first time in a long, long time, he wasn't invisible anymore. And the storm that broke, it wasn't against him this time. It was for him. The police car door closed on Cameron with a heavy, final thud. For a second, all anyone could hear was the soft clink of the handcuffs against the seatbelt as Officer Daniels guided him inside. Cameron was still talking, fast, panicked, desperate, but the closed window turned his words into muted noise. He had walked onto that gas station lot feeling like a king. He was leaving like a lesson. The siren wasn't on yet, but people could feel it waiting. The weight of consequence sat in the air, humming like static. Then, slowly, like the tension was finally letting go, the attention shifted. Away from the cuffed man in the car, back to the old man on the ground, to Mr. Howard Lee. The EMS truck pulled in, lights flashing but siren quiet. 2 paramedics hopped out, one younger, one with salt and pepper hair. They walked up with quick, trained steps. "Where's the patient?" the older one asked. Angela pointed down. "Right here," she said. 74-year-old male, struck in the face. Momentary loss of balance. No loss of consciousness that I saw. Mild swelling, tenderness on the left cheekbone, possible bruising. I checked his pupils. Equal and reactive, but I still want his head and neck looked at. The paramedic blinked, then smiled a bit. "You a doctor?" he asked. "Yes," she nodded. "Internal medicine." "And a very protective little sister." He smirked. "Got it," he said. "We'll give him the good treatment then." Howard tried to wave them off as they approached with the stretcher. "Now y'all don't need to make a fuss," he protested weakly, trying to stand. I'm fine, just a little shaken. The younger paramedic gently put a hand on his shoulder. Sir, just humor us, he said. You helped our crew once. Consider this us returning the favor. Howard blinked. You a paramedic from City General? He asked. The young man nodded. Started last year, he said. I've heard your name before. Howard's eyes went wide. You heard my name? The paramedic shrugged. Stories get around, he said. Old guy who never stopped talking to the kid in the ditch. That story gets told in training sometimes. Angela smiled softly. See, she said, you're a legend and didn't even know it. Something cracked in Howard's chest. It wasn't physical. It was that unseen thing people carry when they think their life never mattered. He'd been carrying that for years. And right here, in a parking lot, it finally broke open. They got him sitting on the stretcher, not strapped in yet, just perched while they checked his vitals. The blood pressure cuff squeezed his thin arm. The cold stethoscope pressed to his chest. He tried to hold on to his usual calm, his usual stubborn smile, but his hands wouldn't stop shaking. Mia noticed first. ... She set down the bottled water someone handed her and came closer. Mr. Lee, she whispered, you okay? He forced a smile. I'm all right, Miss Mia. Just a lot of eyes on me is all. His voice cracked on the last word. The elder biker, Raymond, stepped closer too. Brother, he said gently, you don't have to be strong for us. Howard swallowed hard. I've been strong my whole life, he rasped. Ain't nobody know how tired I am of it. That did it. Whatever dam he'd built inside himself over the years, every time he'd swallowed hurt, every time he'd taken disrespect quietly, every time he'd told himself, just keep going, old man, don't make trouble, finally broke. His shoulders began to shake, not violently, not dramatically, just shaking. The paramedics paused, exchanged a glance, and silently stepped back a few feet to give him space. His hands went to his face, not to hide the bruise, to hide the tears. He had never cried in front of strangers. Not since he buried his mother, not since his house got taken, not since his best friend died in a fire he was too late to stop. But now, he cried, quiet, ugly, raw tears. I ain't done nothing to nobody, he choked out. I just tried to be good, tried to be kind, tried to help where I could, but the world just keep hitting. Mia knelt in front of him, her own eyes shining. I know, she whispered. I know, Mr. Lee. I see you every day. I see how you treat people. I see what you do. You don't deserve what he did to you. He shook his head, tears slipping past his fingers. Folks cross the street to get away from me, he gasped. Clutch they purses, roll up they windows, act like I'm gonna rob 'em. When all I wanted was a smile, a good morning, something that remind me I'm still here. His voice broke entirely. I ain't trash, he sobbed, but he made me feel like it. Like I ain't worth the breath I've been borrowing all these years. Nobody interrupted. Even the onlookers, who'd only meant to watch, felt something drop in their chests, heavy and ugly. Guilt. They'd seen him before. They'd ignored him before. Some had fought the same thing Cameron said out loud. Some had made jokes. Some had hurried past. Some had tossed coins without even looking him in the eye. Raymond stepped closer. He didn't try to fix it. He just placed a big, solid hand between Howard's shoulder blades, steady and warm. Let it out, he said. You've been holding that in too long. Howard looked up through tears. You know what the worst part is? He whispered. Raymond shook his head slowly. What's that? He asked. Howard sniffed hard, trying to catch his breath between sobs. The worst part, he said, voice trembling, is that after he hit me, I believed him for a second. I believed maybe I really was nothing, just a problem taking up space behind a gas station. Angela put a hand over her mouth. Mia cried openly now. Raymond's jaw flexed hard enough you could see the muscle jump. Then, slowly, he leaned forward until his eyes were level with Howard's. "You listen to me," he said, voice low, thick with emotion. "You ain't nothing. You hear me? You are not nothing." He pointed toward the ditch, imaginary, remembered, the one Howard had climbed into years ago. "You're the man who stayed when others drove past," he said. "You are the man who held a stranger's life in his hands and refused to let go. You are the man who still cleans this place when nobody pays you to, who still smiles at folks who pretend you invisible." His eyes glistened. "You better never tell yourself you ain't worth breath again," he said. "That slap didn't define you. It exposed him." Howard's chin quivered. "But why it take this long for anybody to stand up?" he asked gently. "Why I had to get hit like that for folks to notice I was human?" No one had a simple answer. Some looked at the ground. Some wiped their eyes. The teenage boy stepped closer, voice shaky but honest. I'm sorry, sir," he said. "I've seen you before. I never said hi, just looked away." "Wish I hadn't." A woman by the pumps nodded, voice thick. "Me too," she admitted. "I judged you without knowing you. I'm sorry." One by one, people murmured some version of the same thing. Regret, apology, realization. And for the first time in a long time, Howard Lee saw something new in their eyes. Not pity, recognition. Officer Daniels walked back over, paperwork in hand. He watched Howard quietly for a few seconds before speaking. "Mr. Lee," he said, voice calm, respectful, "we're taking his statement, your witnesses' statements, and all the video evidence. This isn't getting swept under the rug." Howard wiped his face with the back of his hand. "I appreciate that, officer," he said. "I really do." Daniels shifted his weight, then added quietly, "For what it's worth, I've seen you around. You always pick up trash around here, help people at the pumps. My wife said you helped her once when she locked her keys in the car." Howard blinked. "That your wife?" he asked softly. "Silver SUV? Little girl in the back with the pink backpack?" Daniel smiled. "That's them," he said. Howard chuckled weakly. "Little girl got a strong kick," he said. "She was real mad at that car door." Daniels laughed under his breath. "Yeah, she gets that from her mama." More softly, he added, "Thank you for helping them that day." Howard looked confused. "No need to thank me. Just did what anybody oughta." Daniel shook his head. "Not everybody does." He cleared his throat and looked around. "Look, I know the system ain't perfect," he said, "but today, it's working for you, not against you. I just wanted you to know that." Howard nodded slowly, soaking that in. For so long, every system had chewed him up and spat him out. To hear that even one part of it was on his side today, it mattered. More than he knew how to say. "Thank you, officer," he whispered. The paramedics finished their checks. "BP's a little high," the older one said. "Probably stress. No sign of concussion from what I can tell. But with the facial trauma and his age, we really recommend bringing you in for a full eval." Howard opened his mouth to object, but before he could, Raymond stepped in. "I'll follow behind the ambulance," he said. "We'll make sure he ain't alone there." Roxy nodded. "I'll ride too," she said. "Hospitals can be a lot. He shouldn't have to navigate that solo." Angela raised her hand. "I'll meet y'all there," she said. "I'm on staff at county. I'll let the ER team know he's on his way." Howard stared at them. All these people rearranging their day for him. Him. The man who slept under a tarp. He shook his head slowly. I don't know what to say, he whispered. Raymond gave a soft half-smile. Thank you, Works, he said. I deserve this, Works even better. That last part made Howard's eyes sting all over again. Not sure I'm there yet, he admitted. That's all right, Raymond said. We'll stand here till you get there. As the paramedics gently helped Mr. Lee onto the stretcher and into the ambulance, something shifted permanently at that little gas station. People who used to look through him now looked for him. People who used to speed away now lingered. People who once stayed silent now spoke up. This wasn't just about one slap anymore. It was about every time the world stepped over a man like him and called it normal. And as the ambulance doors closed, siren flicking on in a low wail, Howard's tears slowed. Not because he wasn't hurting, but because for the first time in years, his pain wasn't just his alone. He finally had witnesses. He finally had backup. He finally had people saying, "We see you. We stand with you. You deserved better." And whether he fully believed it yet or not, the truth had already taken root. The ambulance ride wasn't long, but for Mr. Howard Lee, it felt unreal. All his life, hospitals had been places he walked past, not into. Places he couldn't afford. Places he didn't belong. Places where nobody said his name, unless it was followed by a bill he couldn't pay. But this time, he wasn't alone. Raymond and Roxy followed on their bikes, engines humming through the night air. Angela drove right behind them, hazard lights on. By the time the ambulance backed into County Hospital's receiving bay, a small escort of townspeople had gathered in the parking lot. The same strangers who earlier did nothing, now wanting to do something. Howard saw them through the ambulance window as the paramedic lowered the stretcher. Why? Why all these people here? He whispered. Roxy came to his side, hands in her jacket pockets. 'Cause you ain't invisible anymore, she said simply. They admitted him quickly. Angela spoke to the nurses like she was leading a mission. This is Mr. Howard Lee, she said firmly. He was assaulted. He's got facial trauma, possible orbital bruising, and he needs imaging, labs, hydration, and a safe discharge plan. And I'm staying with him through the process. Nurses nodded, recognizing her authority and her fire. Howard tried to shrink into the blankets. Doc, you don't gotta stay, he murmured. You got patience. You got a life. I'm just... Angela snapped her fingers. Don't finish that sentence, she said sharply. Not tonight. Howard blinked like a scolded child. I wasn't gonna say nothing bad, he lied. Raymond chuckled. Brother, your face says the words even when you don't. Howard sighed. Y'all done made a fuss big enough to wake the angels, he muttered. Roxy tapped the foot of the bed. That's... Dot. They took him for a CT scan, blood work, vitals every 15 minutes. Howard kept apologizing to every nurse, every tech, every doctor. Sorry for taking up room. Sorry this is happening. Sorry I've been here so long. Sorry my hands are cold. Angela finally squatted in front of him, hands on her hips. Mr. Lee, she said, firm but warm. Stop saying sorry for existing. He swallowed. I don't know how not to. Roxy leaned against the wall. We'll teach you, she said gruffly. Raymond nodded, one day at a time. Howard felt something in his chest loosen, like a knot that had been tied for decades finally slipping. While Howard slept lightly under hospital blankets, the bikers stepped into the hallway. Phones came out. Raymond, we need to help this man properly. Roxy, we start with a GoFundMe. Angela, I'll write the story. They didn't even sit down. Angela typed fast, thumbs flying across the screen. Local hero assaulted. Help Mr. Howard Lee find safety and stability. Underneath, she wrote the truth. He saved her brother years ago. He has helped strangers quietly for decades. He lives unhoused behind a gas station. He was assaulted simply for existing. He deserves dignity, safety, and a home. The bikers added photos. Raymond, Howard smiling shyly. Roxy, his patched tarp shelter. Angela, the bruise forming on his cheek. They posted it. Within minutes, phones buzzed. $15, $25, $25, $250. A comment. That man helped push my car once when it broke down in the rain, donating. Then another. He gave my kid $1 for candy when she was crying. We owe him. Then dozens more. Mia shared it on the gas station page. The teen boy shared it on TikTok. Within an hour, $4,000. By midnight, $17,000. By morning, $42,000. The town that once ignored him was now lifting him up. Hard, fast, loud. Howard woke to sunlight streaming through the blinds. He blinked at the clean sheets, the monitor beeping gently, and something else. A chair pulled up beside him. Raymond, sitting there, arms crossed, head tilted back, snoring softly. Howard stared. You slept here?" he whispered. Raymond jerked awake. Nah, he mumbled. Just resting my eyes. Howard chuckled. You lie worse than my nephew used to. Raymond grinned sleepily. That means I'm accepted. Angela walked in with coffee. Morning, hero, she said. Howard blushed. Don't call me that. You'll get used to it, she replied. Roxy poked her head in. Yep, we already told the nurses. That's your new nickname. Howard groaned, oh Lord. Raymond pulled out his phone. We want to show you something, he said. Howard frowned. What now? Roxy held up the screen for him. The GoFundMe page glowed bright. The number? 71,480. Howard stared. Then stared harder. Then blinked fast, like the numbers might rearrange into something more logical. Is that money? He whispered. Angela beamed. For you. His throat tightened. Who would give that for me? Roxy crossed her arms. You'd be surprised how many people you've helped without even knowing it. Raymond added, you spent your life being good. Now life finally paying you back. Howard pressed a trembling hand to his chest. I don't believe it. You better start, Angela said, because that's real. By noon, the social worker came in with news. A local church had an unused guest house, clean, safe, private, rent-free for as long as he wanted. Howard stared at her. You sure? He asked. She nodded warmly. They said any man who survived what you survived has a place with them. His eyes filled. I ain't had a roof of my own in I don't even know how long. Mia arrived next with a small folder. We made this for you, she said shyly. Inside were printed messages from customers he'd helped. He helped me change a tire. He lifted my groceries when my back hurt. He told me not to cry when I lost my job. He saved my kid from running into traffic. Howard covered his mouth. I didn't know y'all remembered. Mia sniffed. We always remembered. We were just too late recognizing it. Raymond's voice thundered. All right, folks. Before he goes home, we gotta get this man looking like the king he is. They took him to a local clothing shop. The employees recognized him instantly. Mr. Lee, the man from the video? Baby, come in. They fitted him with a warm winter coat, new boots, pressed slacks, soft sweaters, a clean hat. Howard stared at himself in the mirror, like he was seeing a long-lost version of his soul. I ain't looked like this since, he whispered. Since what? Angela asked gently. He swallowed. Since before life got heavy. Raymond put a hand on his back. Well, he said, life just got lighter. The bikers brought him to a small diner they loved. The owner came out wiping her hands on her apron. "Mr. Lee? Honey, breakfast is on the house, forever." Howard shook his head. "I can't take all this." "You can," she said firmly. "Sit down. We got biscuits with your name on them." He did. For the first time in years, he ate a hot meal at a table, not on the ground. He swallowed bacon and tears at the same time. Roxy slid a napkin across the table. "Here," she said, "for the feelings." Mia showed up again in the afternoon. She handed him a small envelope. "I talked to my manager," she said. "We want to hire you part-time. Light work only. Greeting customers, keeping things tidy, helping with stocking. Daytime shifts, as many or as few hours as you want." Howard froze. You want me to work there?" She nodded. "We want you where people can see you, not behind the station, at the front." Howard's voice trembled. "Front?" "Inside," she said, smiling. He sat down hard in a chair. His head dropped into his hands. "I ain't been offered a real job in so long." "Consider it done," she said. The man who woke under a tarp now had a safe place to sleep, thousands raised for him, a job offer, a new community, people who cared about him, and an entire town standing behind him. Raymond looked at him as they stood outside the diner. "You ain't alone anymore," he said. Howard breathed out slowly. I feel that," he whispered. For the first time in years, he didn't feel tired. He didn't feel invisible. He didn't feel like trash. He felt like a man again. Someone worth saving. Someone worth seeing. Someone the world finally recognized. And as the bikers surrounded him, laughing and talking, guiding him back toward the church guest house, Howard looked up at the sky. "Thank you," he whispered. For the first time in a long time, it felt like the world whispered back. Mr. Howard Lee stood at the doorway of his new apartment, a small guest house tucked behind the old church, painted soft yellow with white trim. Evening sunlight spilled through the windows like warm honey, touching everything inside with a gentle glow. He stepped in slowly, almost afraid the moment might vanish if he breathed too hard. A bed with clean sheets, a table with 2 chairs, a soft lamp, a closet with new clothes, neatly folded, a rug under his feet instead of cold concrete. It wasn't much by wealthy standards, but to him, it was heaven with a door. He walked in deeper, hands lightly touching the walls, as if confirming they were solid, real, his. When he reached the small living room, a soft knock sounded behind him. Raymond poked his head in. "You settling in all right?" he asked. Howard nodded slowly. "Feels like a dream," he whispered. Roxy stepped in behind Raymond, carrying a small potted plant. "This is a housewarming gift," she said. "Don't kill it. It's low maintenance, but not immortal." Howard laughed, a warm, real laugh he hadn't heard in his own voice in years. "I'll do my best," he promised. They set it on the table. Raymond leaned on the doorframe. "You look different," he said. Howard raised a brow. "Different how?" "Lighter," Raymond said. "Like you taking off weight instead of adding it." Howard smiled weakly. "When you spend years carrying hurt, you forget how heavy it is till someone helps lift it." Raymond nodded. "We ain't going nowhere," he said. "This ain't a one-day thing. You're family now. You stuck with us." Howard swallowed hard. I ain't had a family in a long time," he whispered. Roxy smirked. "Well now, you got a bunch of loud biker idiots hanging around your door. Hope you like noise." Howard chuckled. "I've been living behind a gas station," he said. "Noise ain't new." They laughed. Then Raymond tipped his head. "We gonna let you rest," he said. "But we'll be back tomorrow morning. Gonna take you to breakfast again. Then maybe swing by the gas station so everyone can see you back on your feet." Howard nodded, a little shy. "I'd like that," he said. Roxy pointed a playful finger at him. "And don't you ever go saying you don't matter again," she warned, "or I'll come back and lecture you for an hour." Howard raised both hands. "No, ma'am," he said. Lecture avoided. They headed out. Raymond paused before leaving. "Mr. Lee," he said softly, "you're a good man. Don't let the world tell you different." A lump formed in Howard's throat. "Thank you," he whispered, "for everything." Raymond nodded once, slow and deliberate. "Sleep easy tonight," he said. "You earned it." The door closed behind them. Howard was alone, but not lonely. Not anymore. Howard boiled water on the small stove for tea. He sat at his new table, watching steam rise from the shipped mug someone donated. He cupped it in his hands. Warm, real, safe. He took a slow sip and felt it spread through him, like comfort he'd forgotten existed. He leaned back in his chair and let his thoughts wash over him. He thought of all the days behind the gas station, sweeping the lot, sleeping under the tarp, whispering gratitude, even when he had nothing. He thought of Cameron's hand hitting his face, the sting, the humiliation. He thought of all the years he swallowed pain and called it humility. And he thought of how, somehow, in one day, one awful, unforgettable day, everything changed. Not because he fought, not because he shouted, not because he demanded anything, but because people finally saw him, because kindness showed up, because strangers decided he was worth defending. He set the mug down and whispered, "Life funny like that." He stood and walked to the small window. Outside, the parking lot glowed under street lights. Somewhere in the distance, a motorcycle rolled by with a deep, comforting rumble. Howard smiled. "Sometimes angels ride motorcycles," he murmured. The words felt true in a way few things ever had. Howard sat on the edge of the bed and let the quiet settle in his bones. He spoke softly, as if telling a story to God or to the ghosts of his past. "People judged me by my clothes," he said, "by where I slept, by what they thought I was." He touched the bruise on his cheek, fading now but still tender. "That man, he saw me as nothing," he whispered, and for a moment, I believed him. He closed his eyes. But kindness got a way of breaking through lies like that. He smiled faintly. Cruelty is loud, but kindness, when it shows up, it shakes the whole world. He thought of the teenage boy recording, the woman at pump 6. "I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request." Angela kneeling beside him, Mia crying for him, Raymond glaring down a bully, Roxy placing a plant on his table. His family now. His people. The ones who stood up when he had nothing left to stand with. He whispered, "Sometimes you don't need blood to call someone family." He looked around the room once more. The lamp, the bed, the plant, the life he never thought he'd get back. "You give enough kindness to the world," he said, "and sometimes, finally, the world gives some back." He pulled the blanket back and eased into bed, soft, warm, safe. He stared at the ceiling and let his breath slow. For the first time in years, he felt peace settle over him like a blanket sewn by angels. His eyes grew heavy. "You did good today," he whispered to himself. "Real good." And before sleep claimed him, he spoke one last truth. Sometimes miracles don't fall from the sky. Sometimes they roll up on motorcycles.